How's it going, everybody? Thanks for stopping by and checking out our next video when it comes to the basics series. What we're going to be doing today in this video, we're going to be configuring router 4, which is right here. We're going to be configuring router 4 with a static default route. The static default route is going to point towards ASA2, and that's going to allow traffic from router 4 to point its traffic towards ASA2 so that it can forward traffic out to wherever it's got to go. Now, ASA2 already has a static default route pointing towards the Inet router on gig 0/2. Well, specifically on the ASA, we're using gig 0/0, but on the Inet router, we're gig 0/2 right here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to configure two different types of static routes. The first one is going to be a static default route, also referred to as the gateway of last resort. The second static route that I'm going to configure is on the Inet router, and it's going to point to the prefix of 10.1.4.0/24 towards ASA2 so that R4 and the Inet router can communicate with each other as we need to. So that's going to be what we go ahead and do. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the command line for this. So I'm going to go ahead and write this down a little bit and bring it up on top. So on router 4, I'm going to hit the enter key, and we're going to do a show IP route to validate that we don't have anything currently configured, which we don't. The gateway of last resort is currently not set. So we're going to go to global config, and the command that I'm going to use is the IP route 0.0.0.0, 0.0.0.0, and then I'm going to type in 10.1.4. And then I had to just validate the IP address on the ASA. So show interface IP brief, and that's going to be 10.1.4.2.2, and hit the enter key. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a show IP route, and you'll see now that the gateway of last resort is set to 10.1.4.2 to network 0.0.0.0, meaning if I don't have a longer match in my routing table, I want to go ahead and use ASA2 as my default gateway. So you see a S star indicating that the star is a candidate default, right? So this is a user configured default route, okay? So now we have that in play. What I'm going to go do now is I'm going to go over to the Inet router, and I'm going to go and configure. If I look at the IP routing table, you'll notice in here that I don't have a 10.1.4.0/24 prefix in the routing table, right? We have a bunch of 100, and we have a 1.1.1 for the loopback. So now I have to go and add a route in the routing table. So I'll type in IP route 10.1.4.0/24 to 102.0.0.2. Now if I jump back out of global config and do a show IP route, you'll notice now that I have a route to the 10.1.4.0/24. So what I'm going to go do now is on router 4, I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to, what I want to do is I actually want to telnet from R4 to the Inet router. So one of the things I have to do in the Inet router is show run section username to see if I have a username configured, because I need to have something configured in order for me to authenticate to the Inet router. So I'm going to type in username is Rob with a privilege level of 15 and a password, or I'm going to use a secure password with secret of Cisco. Now I'm going to type in line bty 0 space 4. I'm going to type in login local, and I'll type in the transport input is going to be Telnet and SSH. So because I may want to test out SSH later on in the future. So I'm going to jump out of global config. I'm going to go back to router 4, and I'm going to type in telnet to 102.0.0.1, and you'll see that it pops up right away. I'll type in Rob and Cisco, and there you have it. So if I do a show users, you'll see that I am coming in over the VTY line, and that once this is done trying to figure out who the users are, it's trying to do a DNS lookup right now, it'll say 10.1.4.4 because I'm not doing any type of translation on ASA2 currently. So now normally you would not do this. You would not send private IP addressing information out to the internet, but for the demonstration purposes, I did this just to prove to you that a static default route and a regular static route will work, and we're taking advantage of the default inspection policies on the ASA. So we're not having to go in there and do anything fancy with the ASA. That'll be coming in the next video when we go to create a couple of enhancements to make to cover some ASA topics that we need to go cover for the basics on the ASA. So that's pretty much it for what I wanted to cover in this video. It does work. As a matter of fact, since we have an active Telnet session, if we do a show connection long, we should have an active connection with from the inside to the outside. And what this is basically saying is from the inside with a random source port to a destination with a well-known port. So basically this is the inspection engine of the ASA going, okay, well I have an active TCP flow from 10.1.4.4, 32,315 as the source port, to the destination IP address of 102.0.0.1 with the destination port of 23. When you correlate TCP to port 23, that correlates to a Telnet connection. And that's how we're able to allow the traffic to pass through. By default, ASAs will inspect TCP and UDP traffic, so you don't have to do anything to the ASA in order to make this connection work. Where if we wanted to do anything else that was not inspected, then we might have to add some inspection policies to the configuration. But for right now, we don't need to do that because Telnet is a TCP application, therefore it's inspected by default and permitted. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me in this video, and until next time guys, take it easy.